What's up, you guys? Welcome to my channel. I go by Rachel Marie, and in today's video I wanted to cover a case that I feel like it got so much media coverage because the way the investigation was handled, the way the family was handled, everything about it was just so sketchy in general. And that case is Kendrick Johnson. As you guys all know, and if you haven't heard already, his case has been reopened, so the investigation is ongoing right now. And in light of that, I thought we should just go over the material again, and then you guys can form your own opinions. I already have mine, of course, but just to look at the case again. And the crazy thing is, even looking at this case, it's almost unbelievable. You would think that this is something out of like a movie or a TV show, that something like this could happen in real life. And it's almost... Let's cover the information. So Kendrick Johnson was a 17-year-old boy, and he had a typical day in January of 2013. He went to school like normal, except this day he didn't come home. And when he didn't show up for the remainder of his classes and he didn't return home, his mom and his parents, of course, were concerned. His mom decided to call and reach out to law enforcement and say that her son hadn't returned home from school, and she was worried. The next day, however, a classmate found his body in the gym of their high school, rolled up in a gym mat. The reason why this case was so near and dear to so many people's hearts, and it went on and had everyone in a frenzy nationally, locally in Georgia, as well as his family, is because the way the case was handled and the information surrounding it. So, like I said, Kendrick Johnson was found rolled up in a gym mat. Now, the story to this is apparently Kendrick Johnson had put his shoes somewhere in the gym by the mats or in the mat, which was typical of students, including Kendrick himself, because they didn't want to pay for a locker to put their shoes while they played during gym time. So, at the end of gym, supposedly, Kendrick went to get his gym shoes that had fallen into the mat, and when he went to get them, he got stuck and died of positional asphyxiation, which was the end report that the investigation had concluded, which basically is them saying that he went into the gym mat and got stuck and died of suffocation. Now, the thing that didn't sit right is actually like a video clip of Kendrick's father trying to get himself in the actual rolled up gym mat, and he couldn't get past his shoulders. So the gym mat was apparently about 6 feet tall, and Kendrick was about 5'10". It was very like narrow, like the inner workings of the mat was very narrow, to the point that they said in order for Kendrick to actually fit inside that gym mat, he would have really had to like wrap himself super tight to have squeezed down that mat. And even still, his whole body wouldn't have went in. They said that he slipped into this mat to get his shoe. And then also, what didn't sit well with me is that if this was common practice for Kendrick and the other students to like throw their gym shoes over there or slide them in the mats while they played, and then, or while gym time or whatever, and then come back and get them, he had done this repeatedly, you know. In my mind, it wouldn't be something where he would go into the mat. He would know how to get his shoes if they fell through, because this is something that he's repeatedly done because he never paid for a locker. Like that doesn't register with me. And then the way the investigation was handled. You actually had the coroner. It was a clip on the news. I would have included I will include certain news clips, but I didn't want to include the whole video and react to it because some things were just too graphic, and I don't want that lasting memory of him to be those images. You want to remember him for who he was and how you remember him when he was walking, talking, and breathing. You don't want to sit up and look at images like that. Actually, the coroner has said that he found it odd because they found his body at 11 a.m. and he wasn't called to the scene till 4 p.m. And he was like, that's not common practice. When you get there, it's a dead body, you call the coroner, they get there immediately. And he was like, he found that odd. This is the coroner saying this. The coroner that was called to scene. He was like, I found that odd. And even with the investigation, you have you have the whole world kind of against this whole investigation. You have the people that was actually a part of it, and then you have the outside people that are professionals in their field. It was investigators that had years and years of experience in this, and they said, okay, certain things that were left behind, like the mat. It was a gym shoe in the gym that was suspected to have blood in it, but they left it behind because that had nothing to do with their investigation. How do you know? Do you have a lab out there? Did you have a lab with you that could test the shoe to make sure that it had nothing to do with their investigation? Any and everything that was around that area, even if you think it, if you saw it, anything that should have been taken, because we need to scan all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And the investigator said the same thing. He said the blood that was on the wall should have been swabbed in the gym. Whether they think it was his, whether they thought it was someone else's, it should have been swabbed. It should have been taken a part of evidence. The mat should have been taken a part of evidence. The gym shoe that they thought had potential blood on it should have been taken a part of evidence. But they didn't. His death was ruled that way, and they went on to close the case. They let it go. His parents actually, later on down the line, they went and wanted to get their own private autopsy. They hired another pathologist to run an autopsy for their son. They got his body exhumed, and that's one thing that I really think they didn't plan on them doing. They didn't plan on his parents fighting that hard for their son. They really planned on giving her that answer of his cause of death and it being over with. They didn't expect for them to continue fighting to figure out what happened to their child. So they got this second autopsy from the private pathologist that they hired, and he saw markings on his jaw and neck that would indicate that it was blunt force trauma that was the cause of death. And it was another thing that he found, or shall I say that he did not find, that he found extremely shocking. His organs was not there. So the very thing, which being his lungs, that could have proven the initial investigation true or false, was missing. It was between two people. It was the original place that did his autopsy or the funeral home. And they were going back and forth, escaping blame. One was saying when we gave it to the funeral home, it had the organs. The funeral home was saying when we got it, it didn't have the organs, or we had the organs. And it was just a bunch of back and forth. Nobody accepting nobody giving answers to what happened to his organs. Because, honey, organs cannot just get up and walk away. Let's start there. So somebody knows something. And then the fact that the family didn't know. When the pathologist that the family hired told them that his organs was not in his body, this was news to them. They had never heard this before. So now somebody needs to accept blame for this. Somebody needs to come up with answers, and nobody has answers for it. The very parts that are used for autopsies are not there. Again, another reason why I say that they were not expecting his family to, one, hire somebody else to do another autopsy, exhume his body. They weren't expecting that. They were expecting for his family to take what they had given him, take the original autopsy results, which was he died of positional asphyxiation, and let it live. That's what they were accepting him to take. Because why else would you have gotten rid of his organs? And then the funeral home eventually ended up coming out saying that, they had the organs had deteriorated by natural processing, so they had got rid of them, and they stuffed his body with newspaper, which wasn't typical practice, but it wasn't illegal to do either. But my thing is, what upset me about that statement is that if you did decide to do that, if you felt like his organs, had deteriorated, or they were they had went beyond natural processing and they need to be getting rid of, the family should have been informed before you did anything to a body that does not belong to you. You have no right to make choices and decisions on what happens to this man's body when you have no right over it. You run things by the family, and the family gives you the okay or the no. And the fact that the family had to find out years after they got this second autopsy, after they exhumed his body, in their own private pathologist had to let them know that's something that should have been discussed with them before it even happened. It should have been no way that this should have been new knowledge to them. So then it became an issue of like, if later on the case was reopened, which it is now, would it be a purpose in doing additional autopsies if the lungs wasn't there? Because if you're saying he died of suffocation, the lungs need to be checked again. Let's see what you're talking about. Let's see if it's proof there. But you got rid of every single, and the article said every single organ from his pelvic to the top of his skull was missing. Why? Why do that? And I really feel like everyone on this case initially wasn't showing any type of empathy towards this family. It was kind of just like, here, take it. Like, imagine, I feel like in any of these cases, like, we really have to, like, be that person to be like, imagine if that was your son and daughter. Imagine if that was your friend or your sibling or someone close to you. Like, I don't care what you think that person had done, who you think that person was. I don't care. You don't take light of somebody passing. Somebody's death, you don't run at this hastily. You don't make light of the situation. This is a serious situation, and for the way they were treating the family, the way they were leaving them out of information, not trying to give them anything. And another big part of the case that had a huge gap in it was the security tapes, the surveillance footage of the school. It's over an hour missing. Like, you see Kendrick going in the gym, but you don't see anything else. Like, a chunk of the security tape is missing. Either someone edited that part out, or something in the download when they were trying to make the like pass the tapes over was missing. But it's really convenient that gap that was needed is the part that's missing. Real convenient, right? The family actually passed a lawsuit on who they feel to be guilty in the case of the death of their son, and that was the Bell brothers. Now, the thing with the Bell brothers and what makes this story just take so many loops and turns is that their father is an ex-FBI agent. I believe he was one at the time. But the story with the Bell brothers' father is that they believe that the brothers had gotten into an altercation with Kendrick, and the father helped cover up the death. Everywhere from the funeral home to the autopsy to the sheriffs that were on scene, everything. And even the investigations, and the interviews that were done for the investigation was done very shaky and haphazardly. It wasn't done in a manner that showed importance. It wasn't done in a way that showed that this case was being taken seriously, because his death happened in January, and some of the main people that was on scene, like the paramedic that said that they think that this was a homicide, or the any of the first responders on the scene, they weren't interviewed until April. One of the investigators said, that wasn't related to the case, just one that had many years into the field, that said those are the type of people that you interview within the first week, because you wait all that time and they begin to forget important details that could have been important to the case. You give them 4 months of rest period without talking about this case. And you think about any of those cases, they normally interview those people immediately because they're trying to get the story. They're trying to make sure you remember everything as freshly and as vividly as the time that you saw it. You don't wait 4 months down the line to interview people, especially people of prime importance. And it was said that none of the kids that were in the gym or around the area was interviewed. Like I said, I didn't want to look at some of those video clips and some of that footage that showed different gory details about that day. I chose not to, but I do want to look at the interview that the Bell brothers did, and these are the individuals that his parents believe are behind his death. So.
Now, a Channel 2 Action News investigation into the mystery surrounding the death of a Valdosta teenager found in an upright gym mat at school. Two young men at the focus of the Kendrick Johnson controversy have declined to talk to investigators, a grand jury, and an on-camera interview until now. Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winnie live outside FBI headquarters in DeKalb County with these exclusive interviews. Mark?
And at last check, this case remained a focus of federal investigation. But we are outside the FBI's Atlanta field office because that is where we're told Agent Rick Bell was assigned, and both his sons are the subject of target letters from a federal prosecutor. And now we hear from them at last.
I'm going to ask my photographer to push in tight on your face.
Okay.
Our viewers can read your expression. Did you have anything to do with the death of Kendrick Johnson?
No. He was like one of my good friends.
Even at the time of his death?
Even at the time of his death.
You know, every word we broadcast of this is going to be scrutinized by the blogosphere, the Twitter sphere, and so on.
Yes, sir. It should be. And I want everybody to know the truth. And I mean, they can ridicule me and they can say whatever they want, but in the end, the truth will prevail. And everybody will find that me and my brother have been innocent and always will be innocent.
We've just heard what family attorneys acknowledge sheriff's deputies, the GBI, and a federal grand jury have not heard. Brothers Brian and Brandon Bell answering questions, no holds barred, about the mysterious death of Kendrick Johnson in 2013.
He was the laughter of our house. He was the joy of our house, and he gives us strength to keep fighting.
The Lowndes County Sheriff says after a thorough investigation, his office agrees with the state medical examiner that Johnson's death was an accident due to positional asphyxia, that he wedged himself in a rolled-up gym mat trying to reach a shoe and could not get out. But Kendrick Johnson's mom takes issue with that.
Are you more convinced today than ever that KJ was a victim of foul play?
Yes.
And with some of what the Bells say.
No, they weren't friends.
And in a lawsuit, Johnson's parents allege a group, including the Bell brothers, sons of an FBI agent, violently assaulted their son, leading to his death.
None of the allegations that were made were without research.
But both Bells maintain they have rock-solid alibis.
Did you see Kendrick Johnson?
No, sir, not at any point during that day.
Where were you?
I was in class. First block, second block, third block, and fourth block.
Close to the gym?
No.
Did you see Kendrick that day?
No. I did not.
The suit suggests the brothers sought revenge for a brief fight between Brian and Kendrick on a team bus.
A year before, I mean,
What was
we're
that
still
about,
friends.
anyway?
So I can't even remember. I mean, it was so small to us, like it was ridiculous.
Your brother had a football scholarship offered to FSU.
Yes, sir, he did.
They pulled it back.
On signing day.
So how low did you get?
To the lowest you can go.
Letters from the Macon U.S. Attorney's Office suggest both Bells are targets of grand jury investigation. The letters suggest possible civil rights violations.
My objective is to only get justice for my son.
Have you prayed for the Johnsons?
Yes, sir. I have. I hope that they found justice, and I hope that they do find out the truth about their son.
I pray for the truth to come out about what happened to my son.
Now, there's lots more. These interviews were extensive. No lawyers present, no parents present. We plan to have a lot of all new excerpts coming up on Channel 2 Action News at 6, including both Bell brothers talking about federal search warrants executed at their residences in recent weeks and what searchers may have been after. For now, I'm live outside FBI Atlanta headquarters in DeKalb County. Mark Winnie, Channel 2 Action News.
From these interviews that you obtained, Mark, to some of the details in the case, so much in here is unusual to say the least. And right now on our Facebook page, we've posted a link to Mark's story.
That was just part one. We're going to look at part two as well. But them boys, okay, to give them benefit of the doubt, you could look shaky and nervous if you're not used to being on camera or anything like that, but you also can look shaky and nervous if you're guilty. So, don't know them personally, never hung out with these people a day in my life, but to sit there and say y'all friends when y'all wasn't, don't lie about it. If you wasn't friends with that man, that's completely fine, but it doesn't, you cannot be friends with him, and you don't have to be friends with him to also be cleared of murder. You don't have to lie and say y'all friends just to try to prove your innocence. But a mom to come back and be like, they wasn't friends. And then for you to have to turn around and be like, oh yeah, well, we did get in a fight, but I don't remember what it was about. Really? That withholding information is the reason why these cases be drawn out for so many years, when people just like, you make your, like, if you're really innocent, you make yourself look guilty sitting up saying things like, oh, I don't remember, or lying about a friendship that wasn't there. Like, if you didn't like him and y'all wasn't cool, that doesn't mean that you killed him. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean that you wished him any ill will or harm or wished ill on him. But to sit there and say y'all friends when y'all wasn't, why lie about that? That's unnecessary. And then to be like, oh, well, it was a little scuffle. It was a little scuffle, and I don't even know. I don't know. They look very shaky in this interview, and then the only time I seen them actually look passionate about what they were saying is when his brother Brandon was saying, oh, he lost his scholarship, we got taken back on signing day. Of course your scholarship gonna get taken back if you a part of a murder case. What do you think? You think these schools gonna let you just come on, and I don't care who your daddy is, you think your school's gonna let you just come on if you a part of a murder case? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They care more about their name than you. They not finna do that. All right, you guys, let's look at part 2.
2 sons of an FBI agent are describing raids on their residences in recent weeks in connection with an investigation into the death of a Valdosta high school student found rolled up in a gym mat. And their mother says they have not spoken to prosecutors, police, or the grand jury. But now they've talked to Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winnie. Mark live in DeKalb County with excerpts from those interviews that are new since 5. Mark.
That's right. We are live outside the Atlanta field office of the FBI. We are told that is where the father of Brian and Brandon Bell was assigned, though he worked out of Valdosta. But it was another federal agency that apparently showed up at his son's residences recently.
This is where they knocked the morning of, around 5 a.m. You can see the scuff marks from the shoes as the U.S. Marshals knocked.
I was laying in bed, I got a bang on my door.
Tactical gear?
Yes, sir, to the nth degree.
It was just like, it's about the Kendra Johnson case, the ongoing Kendrick Johnson investigation.
Brandon Bell says what he and brother Brian Bell woke up to in 2 different rental places July 21st was worse than a bad dream. Deputy U.S. Marshals serving search warrants in connection with the mysterious death of Kendrick Johnson at Lowndes High School in 2013.
I was just really shocked.
I broke down and cried.
I really had no reason in my head why they would be here.
It just keeps on getting worse.
One might imagine Kendrick Johnson's mom feels like...
Why are you laughing when you say you broke down and cried? I broke down and cried. Like, what is that? Are you kidding me? And they're saying, like, this is something that you wouldn't even want to see in your worst nightmare. Imagine what the family is going through. Like, honestly, I can't say I can't say, oh, I would do this in that situation. But you would think that if you're a part of a murder case, and a murder investigation, shall I say, and you are innocent, I'm going to be super compliant. And especially if this is my friend, and I want the family to find out what happened. Check, ask me questions, because why did you deny every chance to talk and interview until it was a news camera present? Then you say, okay, I'll talk. Why did you deny everything else up until this point? If this is your friend and you really want the family to find out what happened, I'm gonna clear my name as soon as possible. If that was my friend, interview me, ask me what you need to ask, because I ain't got nothing to do with it. My hands are clean. That's what I would think an innocent person would do. But, you know, I guess that sounds too much like right.
She's in a nightmare that won't end.
Kendrick gives me strength. You know, he was our baby. He was my son.
The Lowndes County Sheriff says after a thorough investigation, his office agrees with the state medical examiner that Johnson's death was an accident due to positional asphyxia, that he wedged himself in a rolled-up gym mat trying to reach a shoe and could not get out.
I would imagine practically every one of your viewers sat scratching their head.
And a lawsuit by Johnson's parents alleges a group including the Bell brothers, sons of an FBI agent, violently assaulted their son, leading to his death.
My only angle is to find justice for my son.
But the Bell civil attorneys, Patrick O'Connor and Bryce Ladson, say the July 21st search warrants sought text messages, emails, and the like relevant to alleged witness tampering and obstruction of justice.
Is it possible you were involved in any witness tampering or obstruction?
No, sir. In no possible way whatsoever.
Have you obstructed justice in any way?
No.
Have you tampered with any witnesses, tried to influence anybody, tried to stop somebody from talking in the Kendrick Johnson investigation?
No.
Where our viewers can look in your eyes, did you have anything to do with the death of Kendrick Johnson?
No, sir. Nor me or my family had anything to do with his death.
Both Bells maintain they have rock-solid alibis.
He was so nervous. Did y'all see that? No, sir. Couldn't even get the words out.
Where were you?
I was in class.
Videos, pictures, and theories abound online about what happened, some involving school surveillance video. We talked to Brandon Bell about his appearance.
I was changing clothes before I had to leave for the wrestling tournament that we were going to. And I went in there to check my weight the first time. I changed, and then the shirt that was assumed to have blood on it, that they had circled and said blood, it actually said RLX. It's a type of polo.
How's it feel to get your side out?
Great. Because I finally, we've just been sitting here. Not just letting everybody else talk. You know, it's our time to talk.
I'm going to stop there. You guys know that all this information is online. If you want to look more into the interview that the brothers did, be my guest. My thing is, it kind of irks me just seeing how they want sympathy for the littlest things and nobody is giving the parents sympathy. Like, you wasn't thinking about the parents getting any of this. Imagine every day. Like, this happened in 2013. We're in 2021 now, and they're just now reopening the case. Imagine every day not knowing completely what happened to your child. But you want sympathy because they wanted to look in your house and get some evidence? Or look in your house and search your house to see if you're guilty or not? You want us to feel sorry for that? Like, my thing is, if that's your friend, that's your buddy, right? That's your pal. You want the best for his family, they wouldn't have had to beat down my door. Hello? Like, I know that's inconvenient. Nobody wants that to happen. But if that's your friend, I would have been fully cooperating with the investigation. Think I'm guilty. You gonna find that I'm innocent. If I'm innocent and that was my friend, I'm going to be working with his family. First off, if that's my friend, his mama gonna know I'm his friend. His mama ain't gonna say on TV that I'm not his friend. I'm sorry. Because mamas know. My mama know who my friend and who my friend are, who's not my friend. I really, really hope that however this case ends, with it being reopened, that it gives his parents some type of peace and some type of comfort. I know it's not giving them their son back by any means, but I hope it allows them to have some type of peace, because imagine the fact that these individuals have not rested since January of 2013. They have not rested. They have not had any rest. They have not been able to relax. They have not been able to think about anything else since January of 2013. So I hope that however this case ends, that they are able to have some type of peace and some type of comfort, some type of solace. None of us know what happened. None of us were there. None of us, know these individuals personally to say if this person is lying or this person is not. But one thing I can say, the cause of death being positional asphyxiation, I'm not believing that. That don't make not a bit of sense. Him going into the mat and getting stuck don't make sense to me. Him slipping in after some shoes don't make sense to me. It just doesn't. So I hope that this time this investigation is done properly, is done by arrangement. It is too late to go back and fix the malice way that things were handled about this case, the ill way that things were treated, the ill way that his body was treated. It is too late to fix that. But I do hope going forward that things are handled in a proper way. This investigation is handled properly. And I hope that the family get the answers that they need. And I hope that nothing like this has to happen in the future. at the end of the day, the family should be the focal point. You guys, I do hope you enjoyed this video of me looking into different cases. I do plan on doing a few more of these videos because I think they're really important to take a look at, whether they're open or closed cases in general. I think it's a lot that we can learn from them. I think it can help us in moving forward in the future. It's things just to look at so that things like this can be hopefully avoided in the future, as well as so we don't turn a blind eye to things that's going on around us. Because like I said, looking at this case in general, you would think that this is something out of a movie. You would not believe that this is something that is happening in the United States. But unfortunately, it is. Unfortunately, it is. And it's things that we have to see on a daily basis. Watching the news is so hard sometimes. But I think, like I said, I think looking at these cases allow us to bring some perspective to things that we're seeing around us, and also allows us to be more vigilant. So make sure you guys let me know down below what your thoughts of. Like I said, the case is reopened, so now it's time for people to do their job, okay? And give the true answers, whatever that may be. Like I said, I'm not a detective, investigator, coroner. I'm not any of those things. But I hope the people that are doing their jobs this time and doing right by the family and giving them the answers, because it's no way that pathologists are coming up with 2 different reasons for cause of death. It just doesn't make sense. It's no way that this young man's organs shouldn't have been present with his body. Or at least if they weren't present, the family should have known when they decided to remove them. It's no way. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you let me know down below any other cases that you want me to look into, new, old, closed, solved, whatever the case may be. Make sure you let me know down below, and I will take my time to look at those and get a video out to you. So I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.